Okay, well, again, thank you all for lasting through as long as you have. How many of you have been here since the morning? Excellent. And you still got energy to keep going? Good, because we saved the best for last. So the two women who we have as our next speakers are some of the finest that we are delighted to call of our own from our community, from our open, extended community. One of whom actually comes from our Bay Area. Our first speaker, Sehba Ali, is somebody who I am delighted to be able to say that I've known for over 20 years. Many of you who know me know that there's one thing that I lay claim to as the best thing I ever did, which is marry my wife. And the second best thing that happened was I inherited her family, and this is part of the extended family that I was able to inherit with it. And so Sehba is one of the most extraordinary people. She is from and of the Bay Area, one of the rare people who is able to unify people across the board, including the rare, weird spectrum of people from Cal and people from Stanford. So she holds 2 degrees from Cal and a degree from Stanford. She is currently the CEO of KIPP Texas Public Schools, right now she oversees a budget of over $400 million a year, which is not a lot. I mean, that's not a trivial budget at all. Has over 6,000 people who she manages today. But what you will hear in her stories are an extraordinary passion for education and for making a true difference in people's lives. She is a nationally respected voice in education and quality, and educational equality and leadership. She's a passionate advocate for underserved communities and for building scalable systems of excellence. She brings both fierce intellect and deep humility into everything she leads. She is one of the most extraordinary people I've had the privilege to know, and I think you guys will realize that after hearing her speak today. We are honored to call her one of our own. And speaking with her and carrying the conversation with her is an extraordinary woman who we are also delighted to have amongst us. She is Dr. Nada Ahmed. She's a technology executive, a board director. She is the CEO of Excolta, sorry, I couldn't, a little difficult to pronounce, but she is a PhD, a former faculty member at NYU, visiting us from New York right now. Currently living in the Bay Area, which is, thank you for coming, thank you for being part of us. We are absolutely delighted to have both of them here. We are honored that you're both here, and I would love for you to come in and tell us, just share your views with us, and we'd love to hear your conversations. Nada?
And I'm just going to introduce Devin Lopez as well. She'll be helping facilitate our session as well. So Devin brings a background in education policy and adult leadership, and so we're really excited to have her here. And I'm super excited to be in community with everyone. Sehba is a rock star. I've got to know her for the last month, and just really excited to get to moderate this session with her today. So.
Hi everyone. Before we begin our dialogue with Sehba and Nada, we're going to actually showcase a video that highlights Sehba's leadership in action. And this will really give you an opportunity to see what it looks like, feels like, and sounds like, because she's been doing great work, as everyone has mentioned. So before we get started, if we can please showcase that video. It's in the slideshow.
Thank you.
Do you want to just? Sorry, guys, for the technical issues. Since there's no video, we'll just begin. Really quickly, I'll just give you an overview of how this conversation is going to look. Nada and Saba are going to have a conversation about her leadership journey, and then after that, we'll have about 10 minutes for a Q&A session. And once we do that, we're going to actually have an interactive audience activity, and then we'll leave it for Saba to conclude with her final words.
As leaders and educators, we're always used to these things where sometimes something doesn't work, and so we're just going to make it work. And we'll try to figure out if we can have you see the video. The video really shows Saba's leadership in action and what it really looks, sounds, and feels like. And so I'm really honored to have this conversation and this dialogue today. And I'm going to kick us off with our first question, and I'd love for Saba to share your why. If you could just share your leadership story and your why, that'd be really helpful.
Absolutely. And Nada, I have to tell you that it's just it's not even coincidence that the video isn't working, because every time I get around technology, and this should be like especially funny to you all from the Silicon Valley, I break it. So it's pretty like expected that the video wouldn't work, because that is actually like people at my job are always like, just don't touch anything. Just don't. Like, don't touch your phone, don't touch your computer, just don't. Anyway, I'm really excited to be in dialogue with you today, and just thank all of you for coming. And we really want to make this interactive, so we're going to talk a little bit up here, but then we're really excited to hear from you all as well. A little bit about my why. So, you know, like many of you in this room, I come from a family of immigrants. My dad came to this country because he won a scholarship from someone that we actually don't even know, to come to this country and get a better education. My dad grew up poor in India, and he didn't have the resources to come to the United States without that scholarship. And that scholarship literally changed the trajectory of my family's life. And so for me, in growing up in my family, education has always been a central value to my family. In fact, my mom's a retired school teacher. She taught right here in the Bay Area for, you know, I don't know, like 30 years. And I spent my days in and out of her classroom. And so I don't think it was a surprise to anyone when I walked into the career office at UC Berkeley my senior year and saw the Teach for America brochure, and this vision that one day all children in our nation will have the opportunity to attain an excellent education. And so, being young and dumb, that was the only thing I applied for, was Teach for America. But what makes me really happy is you did TFA too, and it's an absolutely fantastic program. And I was so fortunate to be able to do that program, because that took me to Houston, where I got to teach an incredible group of middle school students. And those students were some of the brightest young men and women that I had ever met. I mean, I remember walking into my school and hearing one of my students recite his poetry. And it was absolutely incredible. And I said, "What are you going to do with this incredible talent that you have?" And he said, "Miss, I have to support my family. I'm quitting school after 8th grade." And I just thought about what lost opportunity in that classroom. And so I knew in that moment, in my second year teaching, that rather than going back to graduate school and pursuing a degree in, you know, psychology or something else, that I was going to spend my days trying to create opportunity for students from low-income backgrounds who are bright as anyone else, but just don't have that opportunity. And so after teaching, I actually moved to the Bay Area. Went to Stanford for graduate school. By the way, go Bears. And you know, Stanford was just the school I had to go to get a graduate degree. But I started working for an organization called KIPP. And KIPP was just starting out back then. They had 2 schools that were doing incredible work, sending middle school students to the best high schools, private and public, in the country, and then sending these kids off to college and really defying the college graduation rates for low-income children. And so I was fortunate to join KIPP. I started a KIPP middle school called KIPP Heartwood Academy right here in San Jose. The KIPP Heartwood is now, we just celebrated last May our 20th birthday. And I have students who are doing incredible work across the country. They are, going to medical school, they're going to law school, they're engineers, they're teachers, and now they're principals. And it is really incredible to see what they are doing. And so, after being a principal, I ended up moving to Houston and joining KIPP there and leading our schools in Houston. And 6 years ago, we were operating in Texas as 4 different disparate KIPP regions, 4 nonprofits, 4 boards, 4 ways of doing things. And we merged to become KIPP Texas Public Schools, one organization with 32,000 children today, 54 schools in Austin, Dallas, Houston, and San Antonio, and that's the organization I lead.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I think one thing that really resonates with me is just your journey and the value of your family in that journey too. And so something, as I think about my own leadership story and my why, something that I always think about is the role of storytelling. My family always told me it's really important to really listen and understand people's stories and really connect with them and their stories. So that's something that I always look to do when I actually try to form connections with others. I remember one time I was in middle school in 6th grade. I was an unconventional learner, and I remember a group of teachers and educators saying that I was deemed unsuccessful. And so another thing in my own leadership journey I do is to counteract deficit narratives and really use storytelling to empower others. And so I just wanted to make sure I share that little nugget as well. So to continue to deep dive into this, our next question is, as you translate vision into execution, what does it sound like, look like, and feel like in action?
Yeah, and I love that you're focused on eradicating deficit leadership, because it actually doesn't do us any good to believe that we can't. And every day, the work that I do, the work that you do, is to believe that you can and to bring that hope and optimism. And when I think about executing a really difficult vision of making sure that our children have every opportunity, no matter what their background is, no matter what their economic status is, no matter what their race is, it's a tall order. And in order to do that, we have to be grounded as leaders ourselves. So the first thing is, it starts with me. I have to lead with hope and optimism in the face of very difficult challenges every single day. Because if the leader doesn't believe, if the leader isn't optimistic, but yet openly confronting the brutal facts of where we have to improve and get better, then the vision's not going to work. And so I believe that comes first. I also believe it's really important to have a very focused mission. For us at KIPP, our mission's simple. It's to ensure that our students have the skills and confidence they need to be successful in college, career, and beyond, to create a more just world. And having that clarity of mission is incredibly important to be able to then drive success in the organization. And from that mission, you can imagine this as a flow chart. From that mission, from the vision, from the mission comes a strategy. We just launched our new 5-year strategy at KIPP Texas Public Schools to take us into 2030. This strategy isn't a 50-page document that, is tucked away on a shelf. It's actually 3 simple things. We're focused on academic excellence. We're focused on making sure every one of our schools is at maximum capacity, fully enrolled. And we're making sure that we're innovating within our schools, bringing things like AI into our schools, for example. That's our strategy over the next 5 years. And from that strategy, we have a clear set of 12 organizational goals that every member of my chief's team, of our school leader team, or our principal team, of everyone within the organization, from a teacher to a leader to an administrator to a chief. Every single person is chasing those 12 organizational goals, and our performance management system is built on achieving those 12 organizational goals that drive our strategy, that drive our mission, that drive our vision, that will create success for our students. And so we just have to be extremely focused and clear about that in order to win.
Thank you so much for that. Yeah, and I definitely think that it's so important. We've got a clear roadmap, right? But as you kind of think about this as a leader, so often you're caught up in doing many different things. So how do you really leverage your team's strengths and superpowers? And that's something I'm always looking to kind of get better ideas around, and would love to get your insights and nuggets.
Yeah, look, I could not do this work alone. The thing about leadership is that like a lot of times people say, well, you're the leader, you're the boss. I'm like, no. I actually have 32,000 bosses plus another 3,000 bosses on my staff. And my job is to make sure that they're all able to be excellent. And so when I think about it, it starts for me with hiring the best team possible. I have an incredibly diverse team. They have a diversity in background, diversity in experience, diversity in how they actually see the world. So for example, I'm like the person who is very data-driven on my team. And there are 3 of us on my team who are just really incredibly data-driven. There's one person on my team who asks great questions, and we lean on her to ask the great questions. There's another person on my team who's like done the numbers in his head before we can even think about the numbers that are there. And so for us, it takes a village to be able to run an organization well. So when I was, before I started school. That sounds like the video.
So we're going to pause after this question, and
let
then
me
we're
finish
gonna,
answering this question, and then we can pause and watch the video, and I can be embarrassed about seeing myself up on video. But for me, it's about this team. And so actually, I just built a brand new executive team 2 years ago. And the way I started is I actually started with my leadership coach. And I said, I want you to interview every member of my team and ask them, what are Sehba's strengths? What are her areas of growth? What are the team's strengths? What are the team's areas of growth? And from that, what we call discovery report that I then shared back to my chiefs team, we developed 3 team commitments. We were going to take courageous, bold, swift action. We were going to be humble learners, and we were going to drive to excellence. Those 3 things define how we operate as a team. From there, we created a set of tools. Things like, you need to speak what we call your left-hand column. If you think about the things you say out loud and the things you're really thinking that you're like, I'm not going to say that, we really push each other to say those things because they make our decisions better. And then from the tools, we developed a set of operating mechanisms. We have a tactical meeting every week. We have a strategy meeting every week. I meet one-on-one with my direct reports where we talk about their progress to goals, their priorities. We solve problems together. They give me feedback. I give them feedback. And so we created these tools and mechanisms to help us so that this diverse, really incredible team could be great. And so I think that's really important, to not just hire well, but then to put the systems in place so that team can be wildly successful.
Thank you so much for just sharing the systems thinking that you use. And so, Devin, are we able to share the video, or are we still kind of trying to problem solve?
Yes.
All right, here we go, everyone. Video.
When I was, before I started school, I was a 2003 Fisher Fellow, okay? I was walking neighborhoods looking for kids and saying, hey, you don't know me. Do you want to go to college? And do you want McDonald's on Saturdays? Because I can do that for you. And it got to the point where all these kids in the neighborhood were like, did you see the short lady who wants you to go to college? And they'd tell their friends, like, hey, did you talk to the short lady? Did you talk to the lady who wants you to go to college? And then I realized that everywhere I went, there'd be these like bells in the background, and it was because the ice cream truck was following me around the neighborhood. Because they were just like, she knows where all the kids are. And so that's how I recruited my first class of 75 kids. Hey, Kipster! Hey, what? Drop the beat.
It started down in Houston, Texas 5 years ago, and what they've created is a public school unlike just about any you have seen before.
Sam Lopez teaches history and Spanish at KIPP in Houston.
You didn't worry about the long hours? I mean, come on, 7 in the morning to 5 in the evening.
It was something that I did look into, because I had to think about it. Do I have what it takes? But I said, you know, this is what I've been looking for.
When we first started, it was an act of faith, because there were no proven results yet. We felt that we could prepare students better so they could go to a great high school and then college.
We say that we're building a better tomorrow. What organization says that and believes it? That's been true for the over 25 years I've been here. That keeps me here. This is a place where magic can happen with children.
KIPP pushed me to produce more than just the minimum because I am not minimal.
I remember coming to the campus and walking into a space that just felt like I was in a completely different world.
I remember the painting on the wall of the cafeteria, climbing the mountain to college 19 years later. And the through line for me is that there is a culture of interrogating what we're doing and ensuring that every decision we're making is student-centered.
My son was, I think, the third class of KIPP, way back in the day. But when I saw how they changed the trajectory of his life, I said, I want to be like them. And I decided to change my major and become a teacher.
Has KIPP changed, Kenneth?
Lord, yes.
Tell me.
They brought him out. They let him know it's not a shame to be a nerd. Be a nerd in the right way.
You think you want to go to college?
I know I want to go to college. I am thankful for what they did for me and my family. This is where I belong.
We have over 55,000 alumni across the country. That's powerful. We are a movement.
We have 256 alumni working for us. They've come back to dedicate their adult lives, their careers, to our KIPPsters and lifting others as they climb.
There's nothing better than when a student you taught or the principal for returns to work alongside of you. I mean, I'm really proud.
To shape the school experience for kids, that is such a blessing and it is such a challenge. But when you do it and when you're around a community that is cheering you on, that momentum, that movement is hard to not get excited about.
I've never worked harder. I've never been pushed more, but I've never been more fulfilled than the work that I've been doing with KIPP.
It's not a promise anymore. It's been fulfilled multiple times.
At KIPP, 1994, we started with one school, 47 students. Today, across the country, we educate 120,000 children in our 275 schools.
It will be something that outlives us, and I think that's what makes it so exciting.
All right. Thank you, everyone. We apologize for the technical issues in the beginning, but we actually wanted to do an activity, and especially after watching that video, so you can interact with your partner next to you or around you, and answer what connections, insights, and takeaways are you leaving with after this session and hearing Nada and Saba talk. So anything you'd like to share with your partners.
All right, find yourself an elbow partner here. We're modeling things that you do in school communities. So come on, everyone, let's go. Find someone next to you.
That's right. This is exactly what we do in our classroom, so it's good practice.
Waterfall. All right, we're all going to come back together as a whole group. Thank you.
All right. We're going to use a little school technique, just because we're going to have some fun here at the end of the day. Let's finish up our conversations in 5, in 4, in 3, in 2, in 1. Thank you. All right, well, we just want to say thank you. We had a little bit of an abbreviated session today and a little technical difficulty, but hopefully you learned a little something. And I would just say to you all, as leaders in the community, it is just so important to follow your beliefs, to be grounded in your values, and to chase what you believe in like there is no tomorrow. And so by doing that, That's actually how you build a better tomorrow and how you start a movement. And what we've been able to build at KIPP is a movement that will continue for generations well beyond us. So don't give up. Pursue the things that you believe in and believe in them wholeheartedly and go after it. Thank you all for joining us today. Have a wonderful afternoon.